All right, guys, welcome to our podcast, The Chiropractic Message, with the one and only Dr. Fred DiDomenico, Bella Markham, a chiropractic legacy student right here. Mom and dad are chiropractors, and me, Dalton Rios. I'm here with Dr. Fred. I'm his nephew, thankfully.
There you go. Except on my screen, you're pointing the opposite way.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly. We'll see what comes up.
That's kind of your personality anyway.
Yeah, totally. So the idea of this podcast came up because we've got so many students in chiropractic school. Shout out to Life University. But everybody's talking about how they want to be able to describe what the chiropractic message is. They know it true in their hearts. We all know that it works. And many of us in the profession are working to prove in innumerable ways why this is the healthcare system for the world. So this is why we brought Dr. Fred DiDomenico on the podcast. We are all collaborating to give everyone the answers they are looking for. So let's hear from you, Dr. Fred. When you hear these questions and the mindset of the students, can you tell us a little bit about where you were at with chiropractic and how you found the message and how you speak so strongly?
Well, a lot of, as you know, we go to elite boot camps. How do people get into chiropractic? Well, most people it's because of injury and save their life and blah blah blah. And I didn't have that story. I was pre-med, and I'm thinking, yeah, me with a scalpel, that's not going to work. I'm going to need a lot of malpractice insurance. I'm good at run over there and hit that dude really hard, but find like tennis, golf, those aren't my sports. Wrestling, football, martial arts, boxing, I'm one of those guys. So I'm like, yeah, that's probably not going to work. But, and my mom was an RN, as you know, and I never bought into that anyway. So, so I was praying. I was an undergraduate. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. And I got a pamphlet from the LACC. Like, chiropractors don't know anything. I didn't know anything about chiropractic. And I throw it away, and then I get another one, and I'm like, chiropractor, you're stupid. And I threw it away. And then I got a third one. And whenever I'm praying for something, I get 3 signs. I know God's telling me what to do. So I had no idea what chiropractic was. And my dad, I'm like, Dad, I want to be a chiropractor. Oh, I've been going for 20 years. No, you never talk about it? Do you talk? I'm just curious. Feed me. That's like my dad. Shut up. Give me some food. You have a problem, go talk to your mom. Go to work, cut the grass. That's about the extent of the conversations of that generation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I went to chiropractic school. I had no idea what chiropractic was, and that was my interview. I know this is what God's telling me to do, and I know I'm going to do something great. So let me figure out what it was. So anyway, long story short, when I heard the principal, little bits of the principal in school, not from school, but learned it while I was in school. And then I went to DE, man, sitting in the audience, 2,000 people, heard the principal, and, saw that this is a message. I literally said out loud, this is a message for humanity. So I saw it as I never tried to build a practice. I tried for healthcare to dominate, for chiropractic to dominate healthcare.
Yeah.
And the only way it was going to dominate is if every patient didn't get vaccinated, they didn't vaccinate their kids, they chose this lifestyle, they stopped going to MDs. And, what DE did that was great, all this philosophy, was they created a great enemy. And so in the Bible, it says, we're not fighting a war of flesh and bones, principalities. And anybody knows how medicine was formed by Rockefeller. It's evil, man. All you got to do is look at a drug commercial. And when they mention death as a side effect 4 times in the drug commercial, and you're marketing a drug that can kill you or make you want to commit suicide.
Yeah.
We're fighting a battle of good and evil, man. That's not so. So the problem with chiropractors is they think they're participating in healthcare. Well, you have this, and I'm going to adjust you, and then this is going to go away. Well, that's why people quit.
Yeah.
right? We go at the boot camps, right? As opposed to healthcare lifestyle. Now that's different. So when you look at what's the problem with communication, well, you can talk about healthcare and people might choose it, but there's so many options in healthcare, they're going to negotiate. And that's why you think you're doing a great job of giving them information, but you're selling healthcare, you're selling a product or service, as opposed to you're selling a healthcare system that should be the foundation of life and health in your body and everybody in your family and every generation to come.
Right.
Now you're changing a belief system. So you have to learn, and what I did 28 years now studying human behavior, how to predictably neuro-emotionally rewire people on the spot. You change their belief. You're literally rewiring them. Well, how do we do that? Well, there's a system to it. How do you know? How does Tony Robbins get 15,000 people to walk across 2,000 degree coals, did it twice, and you're feeling the heat come up in your face? And it's like, imagine if you were cooking a steak this summer or whenever, and you take one of those red hot briquettes and you throw it on the patio and you decide to step on it. You better be in the right mental state or have somebody call 911. Yet you have 15,000 people that he doesn't know do that. He's not talking, he's not having 15,000 individual conversations. He's doing one thing to a group of people and only 0.5% get blisters. No, blisters, not third-degree burns all the way through the meat to the bone, which it could be. So what does he do? Well, I went there and studied that. And that's our day one, right? So the problem is they're stuck. Chiropractors are stuck in a box. They're in a box of what chiropractic as a profession, the model of communication they've used for 40, 50 years, right? Now imagine, what did BJ Palmer say? Why did he have hundreds of people come a day? What did he say? If he's out there talking on a sidewalk to a patient, would he sit there and say, well, you know, your spine and blah, 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 and back pain and blah, blah, blah? He'd be like, no, dude, energy's got to get some matter, man. In fact, I'm looking at you right now and you look sick. You want to be healed? What kind of life do you want to live?
Yeah.
You know, he would have talked to a person in ways that would make them want to come right now.
Totally.
He wouldn't, would you think he'd educate them? Left brain education?
Yeah.
And so that's what we go through in Elite. The problem is you think you're a doctor, you think you're supposed to know everything, you think you're supposed to get information, and then you hope the patient gets it. Well, when you're dealing with a universal law that your spinal cord is your lifeline and energy's got to get to matter, or you're going to get sick and die. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I say that in a report of findings, but that's basically it. And the problem is if you die slowly, that's the problem. Like, shoot me now. You know, if somebody said you can never get adjusted again, I'd be like, fuck it, I'm done. I'll come back. I'll do something else. Be really pissed off in my next life. Like, now I'm going to be pissed in my next life.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So how can we bridge the gap? Because what you're talking about is related to people who are in the chiropractic industry, they're doctors. What about language that we can convey to students? Because the students are telling me that they just know that chiropractic is good and they want to share the message that you just talked about with their family. Like they just want to be able to go home in conversation and be like, Mom, like you have to do this. What can you, or Bella too, if you've went through this whole phase too. So tell us what it was like for you.
Well, I think just even starting this conversation in the podcast, I think two things that would help clarify, even for our listeners now, is explaining the start of Rockefeller and like what is currently the condition of healthcare currently, and then also clarifying what the message is, because I feel that the difficulty in explaining things is, it's a highly emotional, highly opinionated. There's not even really clarity when you talk to other chiropractors. It's still this, and then you get into the world of medicine and other healthcare beliefs and systems and everything else. It feels that in my position, I don't know enough to contradict other people's emotional
Belief.
standings. Yeah, beliefs. So it feels like I have discovered this beautiful mechanism of service and healing and wonderfulness, but it is hard to relate, even to other chiropractors, because there's not this standardized this is what chiropractic is, even within
Well,
the conversation.
It is, and that's true to a point. Now, how they practice and the principle is different. So if you ask most chiropractors and you say, well, does the spinal cord send energy to all the organs? Yes. So spinal cord is going down the middle of the spine. Should you look at spinal structure? Now, if they say no, then I'd say, what have you studied about it? Now, the difference is, are you talking to a chiropractor or are you talking to the general public? Because those are different conversations.
Right.
So we have all these one-liners, talk to the general public. Spine and nervous system is the foundation of health and life in the body. Very simple. Why is it the foundation? The foundation is a specific word, right? Why? Because the spinal cord is a lifeline, carries energy from the brain, all the organs. If your spine's out of alignment, it causes stress and injury. The spinal cord shuts down the energy and your body gets sick and disease. Now, most people be like, wow, I didn't know that. I just talked to a dude in the gym the other day.
Right.
The guy was, he had something written down his spine, tattooed on his spine. And I'm thinking, man, if you're writing down your spine, words are energy. I wonder that's a pretty crucial area of your body. So I couldn't read it because of the font. So I said, hey, what do you got written down your spine? And he said, loyalty. Now, joking around, I said, I bet your wife likes that one. But immediately he said, my uncle died of ALS, and that's what he taught us. Right. And so I said, well, immediately, did you know spinal cord sends energy down there? So when your spine's out of alignment, and this was right from the Back to Health book. So everybody can go to Elite, E-L-I-T-E, coachingllc.com and get a free digital copy of Back to Health. And there's studies there. And so I immediately told him, there's studies and medical studies that show people with ALS, MS, and Parkinson's respond and can reverse those conditions when they correct the spine. He's like, I never knew that. Now, what else do we tell him? Generational patterns. He goes, well, I beat the shit out of my spine. So I'm like, you could be following the pattern of your uncle and not know it yet because it hasn't created an autoimmune disease and shut down the motor tracks of your spinal cord yet. So go to this doctor over here, right? Sit down, free consultations, no charge, blah, 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 blah. And, he was all fired up. But what did I tell him? The principle first. Foundation of life, health, body. Why? Spinal cord is the lifeline. So, use this vocabulary. It's the foundation of health, and spine and nervous system is the foundation of health and life in the body. Well, why is it the foundation? Energy's got to get to matter. So that's the principle, right? So you say spinal cord is a lifeline, carries energy from the brain through the spine to every cell and organ in your body, and that's what keeps you healthy.
Yeah, just so you guys could see. I want to put this up close so you guys can see it. There's your brain.
That yellow thing in the middle of the spine.
Yeah.
Brain. See?
All those lines go into your heart. Look at this. Wait, on this side right there. Right there. Look at all these things. Headaches, migraines.
Well, yeah, because your ears. How come my wife always says I don't listen to her? I'm just like, yeah, that's fixated.
Heart, organs, lungs.
And if you're just listening to the audio,
Stomach.
we're holding up
organs.
a diagram of the spine.
Autonomic nervous system.
Yeah. If you're just listening to the audio, they got a whole diagram. If you're listening to the audio, check out the YouTube video that's going to come out later. And what's this word right here, Dr. Fred?
Subluxation.
Wow. Can we talk about that a little bit? I want to, can we just have, there's so many conversations that we get into.
Okay.
And subluxation in the chiropractic industry, we're learning in chiropractic philosophy in school that subluxation has many definitions, and that's true because these people have put out this research that goes, well, the subluxation could be cerebral spinal fluid or, all these ideas of what a subluxation is, when really this is the challenge in chiropractic, is that people aren't agreeing on defining this one word, which is why, thank you, Dr. Harrison, both of them, Deed, and his father, Don, to be able to define what a subluxation is and measure it. That was the difference with CBP, is we're able to define what a subluxation is measurably. So can we talk about that, Dr. Fred, so everybody can be on the same page of what a subluxation is?
Well, here's the truth. And the reality is people have opinions. I don't give a shit about opinion. Look at the fucking science. I mean, pardon my language, but it's like, look at the word subluxation. A luxation's dislocation, sub something less than that. You can look it up in friggin' Webster's. You can go to any dictionary, well, it's a subluxation is a lack of cerebral spinal fluid flow. No, that's the result of subluxation.
Right.
Right? Because what pumps cerebral spinal fluid? The diaphragm attaches the lumbar spine, sacral motion, all the stuff that pumps cerebral spinal fluid upward against gravity. Your spine's got to move.
Right.
Right. So it's like, who the hell came up with that? Like, look in a fucking dictionary, man. No, you have an opinion because you don't want to correct the spine, because you don't want to do the work. You adapt your definition according to a belief system or what you think you want to do. So you want to make yourself right. But it's freaking clearly defined.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too, is that, there's a conversation that was happening the other day where somebody brought up the fact that subluxation is being proven wrong. And that is true in the sense that depending on who's defined subluxation, that's the truth. So this is also bringing into the chaos of what chiropractic is and does it work and what is it really defined as, because there's too many ideas and not an accepted truth, which is the whole point of this podcast. And our goal and mission in life is to make chiropractic healthcare system and CBP the foundation of that, because it's the most predictable and repeatable science that we know. And there's research papers out there at idealspine.com. You can look it up on PubMed. Not all the papers are on PubMed, but there are other spine journals, Nature Journal. They're in Q1 and Q2 journals. And for all you people who do or do not know what that means, is that the top tier journals in the world, accepted amongst medical doctors and chiropractors and professionals everywhere. So,
well, what even is CBP and why is it different from other versions of chiropractic?
You want to take this one, Fred?
Well, here's the thing, man. It's like there's one, a subluxation, is a spine, or it could be a curve out of place according to the adjacent areas. You know what I mean? So segmental subluxation outside L5 sacrum, occiput C1, you don't see segmental subluxations unless there's ligament injury. So when you change the curves, they have stress points. And now those stress points, that's why one at C5 degenerates and C7 doesn't. Why is that? Because you have abnormal biomechanics. And so, you can get segmental subluxations, but they don't subluxate lower than C1 and above L5 unless you have ligament injury. So can a subluxation, can you define it as a curve? Well, how's the curve in relationship to normal, which has already been proven? there's an optimal spine, there's an optimal spinal structure. So the bottom line is people change the definition to they're changing, they're giving an opinion, and that's not a definition. That is a personal definition, but that's not the science-based definition. And so the problem is, if you get to how the body actually works, then you have to take responsibility, which means if you have a problem in your healthcare provider, the goal is to fix it, right? Now, medicine uses drugs, chiropractors. I mean, you're a chiropractor. You deal with the spine and nervous system. Let me think. Should I have the top knowledge of any other healthcare provider, being that's my specialty? Should I know more than anybody else about spinal biomechanics?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't want to do that because then I have to take CVP, but I want to use Activator and I want to do network and I want to do that. Hey, does that make people better? Absolutely. Does network fix a cervical kyphosis? I haven't seen it. Show me pre and post x-rays, because science, math, and physics say you're fucked with a cervical kyphosis. Well, that's the way Nate put it. Well, yeah, if you got a straight thoracic spine and your neck bends like that, your brain cares more about that you can run and kill shit so you can eat than it does whether or not you're subluxate. Hey, if I got a thoracic translation, my head better go back to center, or I'm running like this, and I'm probably not going to kill anything like that. So being that I'm upright, maybe I can kill shit and bring it back to my wife in the cave.
Yeah.
Survival instinct.
Yeah.
Your brain wants to be in balance. Well, innate put it there. Well, maybe innate put it there because what's below there is all screwed up. And that's why you got fucking cancer and diabetes and autoimmune. And it's science, man. And here's the problem. You're a chiropractor. You don't want to know the most about spinal biomechanics. Well, guess what? Medicine does, because they're putting out studies showing the relationship between posture, effect on the spinal cord, and almost all of the major diseases that people are dying from today. So guess what? Why don't you be a chiropractor and have an MD know more about your job than you? How does that feel?
Yeah.
So make your own definition and justify your own existence.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're miserable or confused and you don't even know your core values, but you got to make them up to adapt to a belief system because you don't want to be the best.
Right.
That's my opinion. Now other people, well, network does this. Yeah, I'm sure it does. I know lots of people that had healed problems. Well, I got that trauma out of me. Yeah, because energy is health, man. Emotional energy, all that stuff. But you still got cervical kyphosis. But you know what? I got over the trauma when I was 5. The problem is now I have cancer 5 years later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we do both? Clear the emotional shit out and fix your freaking spine.
Yeah, right.
I don't know. It's so hard to understand. I always thought I want to be the guy that when I have to go to court and testify, hopefully as an expert witness rather than a defendant, been both.
Well,
expert witness is a little bit better, a little nicer.
yeah.
Then I want to tell them the story, and I don't give a crap who the defense or prosecutor or whatever. You put he's the best in the world. Well, I will smoke you on spinal biomechanics. The judge, the jury, and all the witnesses are going to become patients. By the time we're done, I just got 10 new patients. And we'll smoke that dude.
Yeah.
That's why you do CVP. So you can actually be an expert, I don't know, in chiropractic that has a specialty of spinal biomechanics.
Right.
Now, I don't know a lot about eyes. I know anatomy, but, I don't know, a lot about a lot of stuff. But I do know the body's got to have the right frame and the right energy. And if it doesn't have that, you will surely be injured and sick. So why don't we start there? You got a disease? Let's get some energy in your body.
Yeah.
And then let's see what's left over. And here's what you find. When they got 100% energy and a healthy spine, They don't have a lot of diseases. Well, nothing's left over. Guess you don't need to go to the MD.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to add a little bit on to your question as well. Understanding what CBP is. For me, I've been to the CBP Basic and Basic Certified, been to all the advanced and the hands-on seminars. And so working my way up to be an advanced doctor, got to actually finish chiropractic school and do a case study, but we're on the way, baby. But the thing that's been most exciting for me is just understanding that this is in a way to assess someone's individual spinal structure. Now, meaning that all of us are different sizes and shapes. Some of us are taller, some of us are shorter, some of us are fatter, whatever. And so the shape of our bones is going to be able to depict what shape of our spine is like our 100%. And it's the only system that I know so far. And if Fred, if you know another system, then please share that. But it's the only system that I know that can measure an individual's bones and predict within a degree of accuracy what is possible for each individual's spine. And why that's different from everything else is that these other practices have more of a standardized ideology for everybody. And the cool thing about CBP is that we could both walk into the practice and we go, well, you have the ability to have a more curve in your lumbar spine than I do because of the way that my hips are set up. Or maybe I have the ability to have a bigger neck curve than you, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's better or worse. It just means that, hey, based off of the way that your body developed, this is what your 100% is. And this is why Dr. Fred's elite coaching and your system is so incredible, is because you take that idea from CBP and are able to take the language of a regular patient who knows nothing about all these big words, and you just communicate this message like, hey, guess what? Based on your x-rays, we can get you to this point. This is the curve that we want you to have, or that you want to have, in order to have 100% of the energy in your body. So then you're able to have these benchmarks and you're able to set goals with the patients. And then this is why Dr. Fred's system, you got 90% commitment to a lifestyle of chiropractic. That's incredible. 90% of the people that you see are using chiropractic as a lifestyle rather than, as you say, a product or service. And what an example of that in the real world would be is like if you went to the gym and this gym was able to give you the knowledge and the inspiration to go, hey, I'm going to go to the gym for the rest of my life. And you end up being healthy. That's what we're talking about. And that's what Dr. Fred's such an expert at, is getting people to go, well, I just want to have a summer body. But Dr. Fred's like, well, don't you want to be healthy for the rest of your life? Like, that would be an incredible goal. And these people end up having the goal to be healthy for the rest of their life. So, for me, that's what separates CBP from everything else. And to be able to predict the outcome and the time it will take for somebody to get to all the energy flowing from their spine into all their organs and muscles.
And actually, on that analogy, it'd be more like, well, I just want to have a summer body. Well, how do you feel in your summer body? Well, I put my bikini on and I feel great about myself. So basically, so you have June through August, and then basically September through May, you feel like shit about yourself.
Yeah.
So that means 3/4 of your life, you feel like shit about yourself, but those 3 months, I'm fucking amazing. How's that working for you?
How's that working for you?
Well,
Yeah. You like feeling like shit towards your life?
take the emotional aspect out of this idea that like I feel great, because there are so many people that feel great and still end up with cancer or still end up with some disease because they assume that they're healthy, even under other versions of chiropractic. Like, how do you
Well, here's the difference, because we made an identity statement, and this is where we just came back from the boot camp, Dalton. I didn't say, how do you feel? I said, how do you feel about yourself? That's very different than just how do you feel,
Mhm.
right? How do you feel? Life, pain, or not pain? How do you feel about yourself? That's an identity. So when they change their identity, they want to change their identity, their self-esteem. That's when that's more associated with how do you want to live. And that's why I follow that up with, well, the other 9 months, you feel like shit about yourself, but for 3 months, you feel great about yourself. Those are two identities. Would you like to just have self-confidence in yourself all the time? By the way, you always have sex with your husband with the lights off because you don't feel good about yourself. That's common.
Yeah.
You don't like getting changed in front of your spouse. But for 3 months, absolutely, you're running around the house naked. Your kids, mom, put your clothes on. Jeez.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, like, and that's the
Right.
difference. That's identity, not symptom.
Right. So I want to clarify something that I thought you were asking too, is that like, what do you, when you're talking about this emotional component of somebody ending up sick, like, well, I feel fine, but they're sick.
Right.
And so this is what you're saying, Fred, is that, well, no. Let's talk about how someone can feel fine, but be sick.
Well, what part of that do we want to talk about?
I mean, you end up with like stage 4 cancer, but people are like, how could I be sick? I feel fine. It's like this is goes back to the energy going to all your organs and tissues. Just because feeling does not, you can't associate how you feel with your state of health. It's not synonymous, because that's how people end up with stage 4 cancer. They end up with a liver disease or failing kidneys. They're like, I feel fine though. And also, people who are super driven won't see the pain. They could be having a pain or something that's inconvenient, but because they're so driven, it's not even in their wheelhouse. If it's not debilitating or physically preventing them from moving forward, it's not even in their conscious mind. So this is why associating how you feel with your state of health is a terrible choice, because it's not a great measurement. This is why we take x-rays. And this is why you can take blood work. It's something objective, and you go, okay, well, this is actually how you are. You might feel great, but your body's actually failing, which should be a massive red flag. Well, I feel fine, but your body is sick. And it's like, yeah, that should be the most alarming thing. Why isn't your body telling you that it's not healthy? That should raise so many questions. Why isn't my body working enough to go, well, I'm sick? How did I get stage 4 cancer? Or how did I have this digestive disease? How did I get diabetes? How am I so tired? Your body's not telling it to you. And so then you ask yourself, well, how did that happen? Some part of the messages and all the energy going through your spine and all your organs, something's not computing. That's a problem.
Well, here's the thing, I mean, you said a lot, and, here's where in elite, you study different personalities. You're not going to tell a person that's a leader that feels great that their body's sick. So the goal isn't to sell a sick model. The goal is always, do you want to live at 100% of your potential? Do you want to be at 100% health? Because any sacrifice less than that, at some point you're breaking down. And so that's where we have the one liner. If spinal cord's lifeline carries energy to the organs, and that determines your overall health, then the amount spinal structure determines the amount of energy getting through the spinal cord. Now, whether you're in the state of health or state of disease, and then you replace the word feeling with the word healing. So you could feel great. We're concerned with if you're healing great.
Right.
Well, I think I'm healing great. Well, when did you get your spine x-ray? Compared to what? And that's what I said to people. Well, I think I'm great. I go, do you know you're getting 100% energy down your spinal cord in your body? No. Well, you're great. You may not even understand. You could be 5% greater and you don't even know it. Or you don't even know that's possible for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, look at Bella. I mean, Bella's a perfect example of this, because she's thriving in her life right now. We took her to go get her x-rays, and she's got she's working with at least 50% energy when she first started. Shout out to Dr. Fogel and Dr. Brian Downs at Natural Medicine and Chiropractic Specialties in Cumming, Georgia. Go there. But when we were able to get, now she's going to be able to, what would it be like if you found out you only had 50% of the energy going to every part of your body and you could have 50% more? Like, she was already doing so much.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a really beautiful thing to give people the option to choose life and not just choose symptom relief or to choose help with some sort of sickness. I don't think much of the health conversation in the world is framed around choosing life and choosing something that is actually going to not just not prevent, but help relieve some of the sickness that's already created in your body, but allow you the option to stop that from further developing within yourself. And I don't think many people know that that's even an option. I certainly didn't, and I didn't even know what it felt like to be aware that my body was in a state of disease. It's like this conversation brings up so much bodily awareness that we forget that we have a body sometimes that needs to be taken care of. Yeah.
Well, bottom line is you adapt. Hey, I gotta get on my coaching calls. So, the whole thing is you're dealing with different types of personalities, people in different emotional states. That's what we go through in Elite. You can't talk to a CEO the same way you would talk to a stay-at-home mother of four. Your posture has to be different. Your words are different. Your tone is different. And so this is what we just went through at the boot camp is you're not talking about chiropractic to a person. It's learning how to talk to the person about chiropractic, right? And so you don't even need to compare symptoms versus not symptoms, all that stuff. It's too confusing. There's other ways to do it, but the bottom line is you have to know who's my audience.
Yeah.
There's a limited amount of personality types, and they base their life-changing decisions based on the values of that personality type. So if you don't know that type of person and their values, you're saying the same thing to every person, and then you're hoping the language that they get it. And they all those personality types, and there's a limited amount, all speak different languages. They all have different emotions and values that drive them. And so if you don't know that, you're just throwing out general information and hoping they get it. Well, if you're confused as a chiropractic student on how to communicate it, what do you think the general public's going to be?
Yeah.
If it took you that long years to be convicted at the highest level, and you want somebody to make the same decision you did that took you years to do it in 3 minutes, you got to be really good. You better know a little bit about who you're talking to.
Yeah.
So, and that's the difference. So anyway.
All right.
I got to roll.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Fred. We'll put your stuff in there and post editing, and we'll get you back on for another one. All right. Hey,
Thank you.
these. Yeah, we got the chiropractic message first show.